Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. First of all, I'd like to start out by saying that I'm going to be implementing something a little bit new. I'm scared we're not going to do anything like any unusual stuff. But it's interesting to hear how many houses were sold, how many fires were put out, how many policemen were out on the street. But can anybody up there tell me what the comparison of that is to last year?
That information hasn't been trickled to us. Maybe Trustee Pearson, though, he's Commissioner of the Fire Department.
No, I don't think we're going to put him on the spot. It was a rhetorical question. It was actually a rhetorical question. We're going to be requiring staff, department heads, to now do some research and go back a year and compare the statistics to this year. Because I think, and especially in Trustee Henyard's position of housing sales, if there's been improvement, which I'm willing to bet a penny or two that there's been improvement, that shows economic growth in this town. If the fire chief can show that fires are down, calls are down, then we're educating the public how to treat their homes better and not have accidents. The other chief will be demonstrating that crime, I'm sure since he's been on the job, I call him Deputy Dog, is down. We need to start talking about the good things of this town.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, and I can't promise you exactly when, because I've been called a demanding manager lately, so little by little, we'll get it to you. Secondly, I'd like to talk about the ordinance that Trustee Henyard talked about, holding banks responsible for vacant properties. I had talked to her early on when I got hired about this. I have finally researched and got enough documentation that that will be on the COW agenda for the next meeting. Next, staff members don't know this, board members don't know this, but everybody should know that we need to pass a budget by April 30th. Tomorrow morning, they will be all given directions as to how to prepare a budget at a zero-based budget way. And I'm sure most of them have never worked on a zero-based budget. We'll be working with them individually, but we've got to get started on this because very honestly, in my opinion, we should have been working on it in October. But we've got a lot of other things going on. The $140,000 that was received today, $140,000 received at the Dorchester, just for clarity, brings that current through December 31st. So the state now is just behind 1 month. So that it was greatly needed and well reserved, and we needed it. I did receive some notes from the mayor's administrative assistant that the mayor would like me to mention. One of them was the mayor and I were cordially invited to attend a meeting in the Pullman shop area on January 24th. Present were both U.S. senators and your Congresswoman Kelly. What was announced there was the Pullman Center, Pullman Shops, will be the only second only historical landmark in the state of Illinois. And it was a bipartisan agreement between the two senators that worked on it. The bill is actually going to be signed if it hasn't been signed by now. What I found interesting, and I grew up in that area also, actually, I started in Harvey. I actually was born in West Pullman and then moved to Harvey. Roseland is part of Pullman. Roseland's reputation is one of the worst in the state. And yet, they found something good in that community to get it declared a national monument. The only other national area in the state is the Lincoln Center, or Lincoln Hall. So we as a community, we need to build community, working together, not forget about the bad things. We need to correct the bad things and move forward and find the good things that we can start bragging about so that we can bring economic development and bring more residents to this town. He also wanted to remind everyone that they should check their vehicle stickers every day, as cold as it is outside, because Chief Franklin's guys, they like to write tickets over there, and they are due, they are past due. They need to get on there. Lastly is that this Saturday, I guess I'm going to be in town for a meeting there, a meeting with her, I'm going to be all over the place. Saturday, February 8th is the annual monthly Coffee with the Mayor, which is held at 8:30 a.m. at the Dorchester Center. And lastly, not just from the mayor, but I think from everyone here. It is Chief Hughes' birthday today. But it did cost him a personal day because he took the day off to celebrate, so we made sure we put that in his folder. And with that, I would like to go right into the bills, if I may. Madam Mayor, I would like to present for your approval and the board's approval, the payment approval for February 3rd, 2014. The corporate payments registered number 996 in the amount of $322,639.79 and a gross, I'll underline the word, gross payroll through 1/24/14 was $364,640.14. To piggyback, if you don't mind, Trustee Hunt, it's quite evident that there is an issue with overtime. You need to deal with it. I've set up a meeting this week with the chief. I'm going to be setting up a meeting with everyone. It may come that I may ask this board to literally pass an ordinance not allowing any overtime in the future. We have to, though, take into consideration that we have public safety issues that we have to deal with. When someone dials 911, they want a police officer there. They want a fire truck there. But this has to be brought under control, that I'm responsible to balance the books, and I have to pay out more for payroll than I'm paying the vendors. Something's wrong with that picture. And only because I'm not that familiar with doing this, is this where we need a vote on this portion, or do we go through the whole thing?
Yeah.
Then I would ask you to call for a roll call on that one.
Okay. How much was the corporate bills again? I'm
Corporate
sorry.
bills total $687,279.93.
Okay. I asked for a motion. No, you have to make the motion first. and then-
I'll make a motion, we pay corporate bills in $687,279.93.
Second.
Can you call the roll, please? Oh, I'm sorry. Now discussion.
I got a question. I'm a little confused on this, Warren registry. Is that in the corporate bills or I'm trying to understand? I'm a little lost. Because we didn't have them printed like we normally do, so we print them offline. So I would like to know, is that included in the corporate payment?
Yes.
Okay, I would like to, amend that motion and take out. What do you say, the line number or
Let's start with the page.
the page 6? Page 6, Michael Muhammad,
That's in the amount of $500.
correct. I was under the impression that the mayor stated he was gonna pay that bill himself. I don't understand why it's back on, our registry.
If he said that I did not have recollection, I actually put it on because I know there was discussion to pull it from the last warrant. We supplied documentation, we didn't get any questions answered, so I put it on. So if there's anybody to blame for being on there, it's my fault.
We're going to blame you because I didn't see any documentation.
It was emailed out within 2 days. I'll pull the email and I'll get you copies of it after the last meeting. But I'll.
Yeah, because it was pulled off last meeting.
Yeah.
Not to pay. I mean, it should have been put back on.
I'm not here to argue the point. It was my fault for putting it on. I will show where I did send it out, and if it didn't go out, I'll apologize for that, but I know I directed staff to get that out. So I'll do a search of the emails, but that is pulled.
When did you send that email?
It would have been within 72 to 90 hours after the last board meeting when it was pulled.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the corporate payments as amended.
Any more discussion?
I asked a question of who the person that is named on there, I'm not gonna say the name out loud, we still need clarity on who that person is, because.
I will, once again, I'll pull the bill. There's a PO, and the way the system works is I believe a trustee and then the mayor eventually sign it. I'll find out who that was, I will forward them on, and I will forward that question on to be answered.
Yeah, I'll second, Robert's motion to
Is that it for
amend.
questions?
We've already got a motion in second, so it's just, I think, to approve the bills with that one item, whatever that one.
It was $500,
Yeah.
minus $500.
We had an original motion and second, now we have a motion to amend.
I think with the administrator's just gonna pull that one, and there's no objection from the board, so I think we can just vote the original motion minus that item.
And that was, so it's duly noted, page 6, number 141026-VOD, dated 1/12/598, excuse me, not dated, that's the number, and it's in the amount of $500.
Correct.
Yes, is everything in order? Because there was a motion on the table. And it's been amended?
Yes.
Okay.
A motion by trustee Bendel, second by trustee Pearson, as amended by consensus, to approve the corporate bills minus the payment of $500 to Ms. Muhammad. Trustee Bendel.
Aye.
Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Smith.
Aye.
Trustee Hunt.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Henry.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, motion carries. Now, Mr. Urban, can you read off the Dorchester bills?
Yes, ma'am. It's Dorchester Center, registered number 535, in the amount of $7,624.94. Gross payroll dated 1/24/14 in the amount of $46,373.80. The Melanie Fitness Center register at number 995 in the amount of $344.85, with a gross payroll dated 1/24/14 in the amount of $8,020.60. Total Dorchester payments equal $62,364.19.
I'll make a motion that we pay the bills in the amount of $62,364.19.
Second.
It's been, motion is seconded. Is there any discussion? Trustee Brown?
Well, I want to speak on the media center. Who's, to sign the bills for the media center? In the video, do we need make a motion to have a trustee that who's gonna do that?
I believe that bill is in
Village
the,
village administrator?
is in the packet. It was in the corporate bills, Mr. Brown.
Right, I guess he's saying
Are
that
we
no
looking
one,
at, are we looking at someone, which trustee is gonna be over signing the bills for the media center in the video? Do we have a trustee assigned to that?
As far as I'm aware of it, no one has been assigned to oversee bills related to the media center. I don't believe, I'd have to defer to legal counsel, that that's up to the administrator to pick that person. I think that would be by the board.
I would like to take that assignment.
I was just about to, something came to my attention, yesterday, a couple of days ago, whenever it was. But, a quick discussion with another trustee, and they were, specifically talking about, God, I am at a loss of words today, forgive me. They were talking about reconstructing the responsibilities of the trustees. I have no problem with it if we all want to get together and however we can do that. If anyone,
I'm fine with it.
you fine with it as it is?
No, I'm fine, he
Oh,
wants to
fine
take over
with-
the media, that's fine.
Okay, because it's just come to my attention, so, I'm looking every which way now,
Probably
because,
something we can discuss it
We can discuss
in the
it.
big behind door. I just wanna get this here clarified that I would take on the sign of, trustee signing the media sending in the camera, invoice in the website.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, the media center related to the corporate bills, and before us are the Dorchester and Melanie bills, and there was a motion to approve in second.
okay, motion approved in second, plus the discussion on it. No one wants to discuss Melanie or Dorchester, okay. We can always come back to that discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I'm-
roll call.
I just,
Oh,
I kind of ask a question, because we just discussed it. Do we put it in stone, 'cause I don't want to leave it just where it's at?
Why don't
So,
you take it up under new business?
under new business,
Okay.
thank you, thank you for some direction.
thank you. Thank you. Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Bendel?
Aye.
Trustee Pearson?
Aye.
Trustee Smith?
Aye.
Trustee Hunt?
Aye.
Trustee Brown?
Aye.
Trustee Henry?
Aye.
Motion on the Dorchester Melanie bills passes.
Thank you. And the mayor's report was done by Mr. Urban, so now we will go to old business. Starting with ordinance number 14-0001. Mr. Urban, do you want to, take responsibility, or trustee Henyard, who, I know this was sponsored by you, trustee Henyard, but,
I'll start, we'll move it along. This was an item that was brought to our attention by trustee Henyard. I signed staff person Denise Fields, not Denise Williamson. I renamed her, but her real name is Fields. This was discussed at length at the last committee of the whole, and there was definitely a consensus that something needed to be done to lower the escrow rates that are required currently by the village. And I know that Mr. Murphy, the village attorney, had drawn up a change of ordinance, and it's here to be voted on, but I believe there was some discussion that there's some things that may have to be added to the ordinance before it's voted on. Am I correct?
No. I spoke with Tiffany. There was the issue of whether we should increase the amount of escrow to $5,000 for somebody, for an entity that owns more than 10 units. In thinking through it, it seemed to me that that would be more trouble than it was worth for somebody who owns several units. If they go over 10, then the 11th house becomes a 5,000 escrow, but then if they sell two, what are we gonna do, give them back the money? So I think it's just the keeping track of the paperwork, I think, is outweighed by the certainty of one of our big investor, speculator owners like Mac Industry getting all that money and having it available. I think the most important part is the 500 for owner occupants. So Tiff, if you want to add anything else on that?
Yes, I'm okay with the way it's structured. Owner occupied $500 for escrow, and investor or lender estates, $1,000 for escrow. I'm okay with that.
And if I could add one more thing, they have to agree with the conversation afterwards that Mr. Murphy, you and I have had lately, is I was trying to think, how do we enforce it? That when somebody comes in, it's, okay, you gotta show me all your properties. Well, what if I only showed you 9 every time I came in? It's our obligation then to go out and prove it. We'd have to do background searches and all that on all these people. So this is a much cleaner way to do it. More importantly, I think it's a step in the right direction to show not only the residents of Dolton, but all of Chicagoland that we are interested in economic development, and we want people to invest in this community.
Right.
So staff is in full support, as noted on the recommendation.
all right, so, need a motion and a second on this?
I would like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 14-0001.
Second.
It has been moved in second. Can you call the roll, please? Oh, God, I am so not used to this. I'm so sorry. Any discussion, any further discussion?
Yes, I would like to make a statement.
Yes.
basically, we're lowering the escrow, and this, I would call it a center program to welcome people to come in town and purchase, our REOs, our foreclosed properties, to put things back on the tax roll. I encourage owner-occupied people to start with a first investment piece. That's why it's lowered to $1,000. I would like people to reinvest where they lay their head at. That way you can kind of put emphasis on who lives next door, which Trustee Pearson was concerned with. That's all I have to say.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, my concern is still the same as it was, at the cow meeting, that the amounts are too low. I felt then that it should be 1,000, 3,000. There were several people who also felt it should be 1,000, 3,000. I do wanna entice people to come and invest in Dolton. I want homeowners to come to Dolton. But I think the escrow amount, Ms. Fields mentioned last, meeting that she thought that amount was low and could cause us a problem. I think that it will. However, I will give my vote for it. I just want to say that we must be ready to go back and look at this if it causes the village a problem.
And that's duly noted, I agree.
That's all I have.
Okay, any other discussion? Can you call roll, please?
Trustee Bendel,
Aye.
trustee Pearson,
Aye.
trustee Hunt,
Aye.
I'm sorry, trustee Smith.
Aye.
My apologies. Trustee Hunt, aye.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Henry.
Aye.
Motion carries 6.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to old business number B.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is another item that was at the last committee of the whole. Mr. Edgar is the property owner. He approached the village staff. I dealt with him personally on this matter. This is an area of renewing a Class 8 certification, which allows this gentleman to take this property and go apply for a tax relief for an additional 10 years. He has already had it for 10 years, and staff has recommends the board approval by motion, the issuance of the Class 8 of the property known as 655 East Sibley for what it is worth.
I would like to make a motion to approve resolution number 14R-0001.
Second. It's been moved and second. Are there any other questions?
Let me make one comment so that everybody understands what this Class 8 is. The Cook County has a number of property tax classifications. Ordinarily, commercial property like this is assessed in the neighborhood somewhere between 35 and 40% of value. Class 8 allows commercial property that the board thinks is benefiting the village to be potentially assessed at, like a house, at 16%. So it doesn't take money out of the village's pocket. What it does, and Stan, what's the use here? What's the commercial? So it's a commercial sales tax producer. The final decision's up to the county whether or not to give the assessment relief. The county will not consider it unless the host municipality, meaning our village, says it's okay. Final decision belongs to the county.
I have a question. One of the things that I had seen in the paperwork was a 12% and a 15%. Did anybody check into that?
I don't know what that means.
It's through the county, that they can actually go up instead of going to the full amount. It was part of the paperwork that we had previous to this, and I asked for someone to check into that and see what that would be, how that would work, because there's a 12 and a 15. Instead of the person being hit with a full amount of tax, it would gradually go up, not from the way I looked at it.
Well, that'll be up to the property owner in terms of his application to the county. We're just giving a resolution supporting the application.
That's what we were attempting to discuss this afternoon, and I'm sorry if I wasn't clear enough. It still ultimately depends on the county. The petitioner can ask for certain rates, but ultimately it's up to the county to decide what those rates are. We don't have any say in that at all.
I have a question. If we approve a Class 8, does that affect the residents' property taxes over the years? I mean, say we start approving Class 8s, and you approve 15, 20, or 30 of them, will the residents have to make up the loss in taxes from the Class 8 you give to businesses?
That's a very technical question to answer. Let me explain. We as a village levy an amount. In other words, we pass a tax levy ordinance that's of X million dollars every year. That tax amount gets applied by the county, and there's hundreds of variables, meaning the value of property, tax appeals, exemptions, homeowners, senior exemptions. Robert, I'm talking deep, deep theory. Theoretically, a reduction in a assessment for one piece of property, let's just talk one rather than scads of them. A reduction in assessment of one piece of property from a commercial rate to a residential rate could require every other single taxpayer in the village to pay a penny or two more when it's spread out that way. The balance that the village strikes here is that amount on any given property is very, very minute, almost impossible to calculate when you consider the size of the village tax base. It's counterbalanced by commercial properties that hopefully pay those taxes, stay where they're gonna stay, and produce sales tax for us. And this is a relatively small piece of property, but each application should stand or fall on its own.
I might add to that, it is an economic tool that is used by the county, by the communities. Not anything to do with, because this was brought before the board 2 weeks ago, but about a week prior to that meeting, I've been approached by another business owner, and since then, I've been approached by another business owner that Denise feels has been working with, preparing documentations for you to discuss on the next cow meeting. So it's not that we're letting the floodgates open and they're gonna come out. I was explaining that I read an article, and I can't remember where right now, but there is a community in the south suburbs that last year issued 54 Class 8 for economic development. Not saying that's what you should or shouldn't do, just information, that's all.
Thank you, Stan.
Any other questions or comments? Well, as far as me, I feel like you. I think I feel like a lot of us, I don't want the business to leave. That's one of the reasons why I'm kind of okay with it. And hopefully, maybe it will start a trend for businesses to come to Dolton again. Because there used to be quite a few, and now they seem to be leaving, so I am good with that. You good? Okay, Carlos.
One more thing, I will give my vote. I just would like the board to be cognizant of Class 8s in the future if it gets to be cumbersome for us, so I'll give mine.
And I'd like to add to that, it's really hard for people that have tax bases in the community because there is a lot of vacant properties. And every time that something gets lowered, somebody else gets increased. So it's a really hard decision to make. My understanding of Class 8 is something that's being repaired and put back onto the market. This is a business that's there and looks good and is surviving. So I'm gonna vote yes on this, but I'm not real pleased. I wished it was a little bit more because I really don't like everybody else having to pick up that extra tax incentive, whether it's a penny or $100, because each one of us is affected. So this does come with a little concern.
Oh, I did it. I'm sorry.
Are you done? Trustee Lindell?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Trustee Pearson?
I have another question. Attorney Murphy, is the length of time etched in stone for Class 8, 10 years? I mean, can it be 5 years? Can it be 8 years?
It's up to what the property owner wants to apply. It can go up to 10 years, and it's flexible enough that there's no restriction on the number of times a party can seek renewal.
So in the future, if we have other people apply for Class 8, and we discuss it at a cow meeting, and we wanna say, we'll issue one for 5 years, that's
Yeah.
something we could do.
Yeah, it's not actually issue, support.
I mean, support.
Would be the right word, because then the county would know what the village's limits are. Like I said before, if the final decision belongs to the county, but if we don't support it, it doesn't get out of the starting gate with the county.
Okay.
If I could add to that, my conversations with the county recently on that is, let's say this goes through and it's approved by this board, and he clearly is asking for 10 years. It's not etched in stone that he's gonna get the 10 years. The county may come back and say, you're only gonna get 5, or you may only get 8. But he's going to, as a business owner, going to ask for the maximum, I can tell you that. But it is ultimately, as Mayor, Attorney Murphy said, it's up to the county as their final decision.
Okay. Like,
But my question to that is why can't we let them know that this is what we want, 5 years or 10? Whether they give it to us either is a question that we don't have the answer to because we're not with the county. Can't we stay 5 years and hope that they go middle stream?
Well, I think at this point, what you may want to do in the future, if we start getting bombarded by these, then I think that the board could adopt a general policy. We're only gonna agree to go out 5 years with a wait and see approach. I think at this point, we're talking about, what is it?
Domino's
This is
Pizza.
Domino's Pizza, so it's a pretty small slice of the,
1,700
of
square
the
feet.
tax bill. So I think that we should just go ahead and do a general approval,
I agree.
thinking that if we get, if